You are. Okay, go ahead.
Or as I call it, basketball. Something more matters. Hey, there's like, I was like, I had my like spiritually enjoyed for like, I couldn't let it all like, thought of this,
I just wanted to let folks know we are logged into our stream platform for the public meeting, and the way that the room is set, there are mics sort of all over the place, so consider yourselves in a public situation. I don't know exactly how sensitive they are. You guys can decide which topics you want to share privately, but just know that, yeah, your mic. Okay, and we will get started shortly. Just want to make sure everyone's settled in. Thank you so much for being here today. I know a lot of you traveled, and it's very appreciated. And thank you to everyone online as well.
Oh, Japs. We are.
Not that we don't appreciate them. I like it. I didn't know that.
Just want to take this opportunity to thank President Munoz for hosting us today. Thank you very much. And I can pass it to the chair.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I'll call this meeting of the California Strategic Growth Council to order. I too, before we go on to the regular agenda, thank Chancellor Munoz not only for hosting us here today, but the Catalyst convening yesterday, which took place here. For those of you familiar with the Catalyst convening, this is a series of regional events that SGC and the Governor's Office of Guidance on Climate Innovation convenes regional leaders, tribes, community organizations and state agencies to get together to find solutions to land use, climate, and funding infrastructure. And so it's held here yesterday. I heard it was very well attended. It was engaging. Maybe it's beautiful campus or about the weather. I don't know what it is, Chancellor, but I heard it was well attended. But thank you for participating in that as well yesterday. So with that, I'll move to item number 3, which is the approval of the February 25, 2026 meeting minutes. Oops, sorry, roll call.
Yes, roll call first. Okay, so Director Sam Asefa, Vice Chair Frank Cardenas.
Yeah.
Virtually, great, and we got confirmation our audio is working. Secretary Moss. Present. Chancellor Munoz. Deputy Secretary Jameson. Deputy Secretary Chi.
Yeah.
Chief Equity Officer Torres. Senior Climate Change Coordinator Tran.
Here.
and Deputy Secretary Schwartz. Believe is virtual. Well, we'll look to confirm this, but we do have quorum. We have 7 members in person.
Then, with that, we'll go to item 3, which is the approval of the February 25, 2026 meeting minutes. Members need attended these meetings to vote on the minute, but they could choose to abstain the adoption.
And if we could advance to the next slide, please.
They've sent it to that question.
Thank you. So for public comment today, thanks to everyone joining us in person, online, or by phone through the Zoom webinar platform, or where the meeting is being live streamed on SGC's YouTube channel. I'll provide some information to help us get through the processes for the hybrid meeting. We've designed this with the intention of maximizing access by members of the public. For those joining the webinar online via Zoom or by phone, please note that your microphone is automatically muted when you join. And in order to minimize the risk of background noise, you will not be able to unmute your phone yourself. For those joining online via Zoom, please note that the webinar platform doesn't enable a video for attendees, so we will not be able to see you. If you need technical assistance during the meeting or have a question about the process, there are a few ways to contact us. Using the online Zoom webinar, the best way is by using the Q&A function. And several members of the SGC team are monitoring the Zoom Q&A function to facilitate public access to the council meeting and may remove disruptive or threatening content. If you've joined by phone and you have access to email, please email sgc.info@sgc.ca.gov. If you do not have access to email, you may text or call 916-324-9775. If you plan to make in-person public comment, you must fill out a comment card provided at the table near the back of the room. Please fill out the comment card to indicate your name and which item you'd like to comment on, and bring your comment card to the table where they'll collect it. When the chair opens the public comment period for each item, we'll read the names of everyone who has submitted a form for that item. And when the names have been read, you can line up by the podium in the order in which you were called. And then as it's your turn to speak, I will call your name. If you plan to make remote public comment, you must be joining the meeting via Zoom, either through your desktop or phone app, or calling in by phone. To make a public comment, visit sgc.ca.gov/meetings-events/council. It's also on the slide here, and complete the public comment form linked there. You'll need to complete separate forms for each item on which you wish to speak, and you can do so at any time prior to the beginning of the public comment period for each item. Similarly to in-person comment, when the chair opens public comment for your item, we'll read the names. When you hear your name in that list, please raise your hand in the Zoom function. Within the Zoom webinar, you can click raise hand, excuse me, under the participants menu, which it should be at the bottom of your screen. To raise your hand by phone, press *9, and then as prompted, press *6 to unmute. I'm almost at the end of these instructions. When it is your turn to speak, a member of our team will unmute your microphone. Again, if you're on the phone, you'll have to assist us and press *6. And you'll need to, on your computer, click the option to approve the unmute, and then you can begin your comment. If you're unable to complete the online form but would like to make a public comment, please email sgc.info@sgc.ca.gov. Each speaker will have a maximum of 2 minutes to make their remarks. A timer will be screen shared. Please monitor the timer and wrap up your remarks accordingly. Whether you are online or on the phone, you'll be notified when your time is up, and after that, we may mute your microphone. And you do not need to take any additional action once we mute your microphone. Thank you all for your participation, and I will hand it back to you, Chair.
Thanks, Justin. Any comments, questions? On those minutes? See none. Do we have any public comments?
We do not have any public comment requests for this item.
You need a motion and a second to adopt?
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Both the motion. Call.
Director Acefa,
Abstain.
Vice Chair Cardenas,
Yes.
Secretary Moss,
Yes.
Chancellor Munoz, Deputy Secretary Jameson, Deputy Secretary Chi, Chief Equity Officer Torres, Senior Climate Change Coordinator Tran, and Deputy Secretary Schwartz. We confirmed she's online? Oh, I think I heard a yes.
I'm here.
Okay, and that's a yes for approving the minutes?
Yes.
Excellent. Then motion passed.
Or Assistant Director Karen Curtis to comment. Executive Director's reports. As she makes that report, we'll have an opportunity for council discussion. Comments.
Thank you, Chair Safa. It's great to be here. I'm really excited to be able to share some updates on SGC's work with you all. If we could get the next slide. Yeah. Since our last meeting in February, our programs have celebrated construction milestones and grand opening events for transit-oriented affordable housing developments funded through the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Program. We've finalized grant guidelines for 4 distinct grant programs for the council's consideration today, including 2 programs exclusively dedicated to California Native American tribes. We've conducted outreach and supported applicants to round 3 of both the Factory Built Housing Regional Pilot Program and round 10 of the AHSC program. By the way, the Factory Built Housing Pilot Program applications will close on May 5th, and we have seen significant interest in the redesigned program. So that's very exciting foreshadowing for a council meeting. And these are just some of our highlights. You, our council members, along with staff and partners and communities, have helped make these accomplishments that support a California for All arena. I'll share more specifics. Next slide, please. Thank you. I joined local officials, partners, and community members along with Secretary Moss recently to celebrate the grand opening of 90 affordable homes near transit and other amenities in Emeryville. The Nellie Hannon Gateway, named after the founder of the Emeryville Citizens Assistance Program, is built on the site where Nellie Hannon, who is pictured on the screen here, and others have been feeding the community for decades. And that legacy of giving will continue now from a new 5,900 square foot dedicated space on the ground floor of the site that you see in the upper right-hand corner there, and that beautiful mural that was painted by a community member as well. And half of the units are permanent supportive housing for formerly unhoused individuals. The state of California's involvement with the Nellie Hannon Gateway goes beyond housing programs. The site was actually home of a dry cleaner in the past, which left behind contamination. And thanks to funding from California's Department of Toxic Substances Control, which is one of our council member agencies, and their Equitable Communities Revitalization Grant Program, the site was cleaned up and the project was able to move forward. It is estimated to prevent about 29,000 metric tons of carbon emissions, which is equivalent to removing about 25,000 gas-powered passenger vehicles off the road for a year. And with transportation improvements, shopping, schools, and jobs nearby, and community programming, this development promises to become a community hub while continuing to feed neighbors in. Next slide. The Panorama City community celebrated the grand opening of the new affordable Vista Terrace apartments this month as well, supported by more than $28 million from 3 state programs, including AHSC. The complex is conveniently located near public transportation, health facilities, community services, restaurants, and retail, and it is inclusive of supportive housing units. The apartments are restricted to renters earning between 20 and 70% of the area median income level. It's really critical for that area and which has relatively low median household incomes. The benefits go far beyond housing at this development. AHSC funded improvements include sidewalk repair, crosswalks, curb repairs, a pedestrian warning beacon, a bike route, electric commuter buses, a bus shelter, trees, and upgrades to streetlights. There will also be one discounted transit pass for 3 years to each resident. And other on-site amenities include a community room with a full kitchen, seating areas, computer lab, a library, a television room, a laundry facility, and a courtyard with playground area and barbecue, and regularly scheduled resident. This particular project estimated to reduce 20,000 metric tons of carbon emissions, which is about 4,700 cars off the road for a year. And Vista Terrace is really a model for what SGC and our partners are working to achieve throughout California. Tomorrow, we will actually be celebrating 2 more milestone moments for AHSC projects, one in Los Angeles, Vice Chair Cardenas will be attending, and one in San Francisco, which Chair Sefa will be attending. And we really appreciate your participation and are excited to celebrate those as well. Next slide. Over the past few months, 4 sustainable agricultural lands conservation program funded projects have closed, resulting in the conservation of more than 5,000 acres, including more than 4,600 acres in the Sierra foothills, a 191-acre farm southeast of Sacramento on which teff and triticale are grown on a portion for hay and seed, and the remaining acreage provides secure land tenure for farmers who grow culturally important vegetables for the Hmong community. Veteran-owned and operated 255-acre almond and walnut orchard has also closed on the edges of the city of Chico. Through funding for smart planning and land use, strong partnerships, and community-centered solutions, we are supporting and uplifting California families, communities, and the environment. And of course, stay tuned for consideration of Round 11 Cycle A SALT Awards later in this meeting. Next slide, please. All right, Mendocino County Resource Conservation District, which is a transformative climate communities grantee, recently joined partners from the Hopland Band of Pomo Indians and the Potter Valley Band of Pomo Indians for a workshop with biochar experts. We have some pictures of that event up on the screen. The workshop, which was held on Potter Valley tribal land, demonstrated biochar's use and benefits, including a lesson in how to use a specialized kiln. For those of you who don't know, biochar is charcoal produced by thermal decomposition of renewable organic matter from the earth. Science. Biochar's beneficial uses include fuel reduction in wildfire-prone regions, material reduction for orchards, vineyards, and other agricultural sites, long-term carbon storage, enhanced soil fertility, and water quality improvements. The learning doesn't end with this lesson either. Each of the partnering tribes will receive a kiln for future biochar production. So through programs like our TCC program, we're helping communities plan and advance equitable climate smart solutions like this. So Chair Sefa and I and several other members of our council member agencies were able to travel to Pacoima recently to reconnect with our TCC grantees and discuss recovery progress and community resilience a year after the LA firestorms. Grantees, including Pacoima Beautiful and South LA Eco Lab, convened with our partners, TCC staff, and SGC leadership, provided us an update on several TCC funded projects, several of which have closed, which means they've been accomplished. And we are working with grantees and communities to help ensure no one's left behind in the wake of that unprecedented disaster last year. Next slide. SGC is part of an interagency group, along with our council member agencies at Cali PA and the Natural Resources Agency, administering the development of the Plastic Pollution Mitigation Fund, which is part of California's Plastic Pollution Prevention and Packaging Producer Responsibility Act, otherwise known as SB 54. It's easier to say. SB 54 represents a fundamental shift in how California addresses the environmental and health impacts of plastic waste. And beginning in July of 2027, that fund will be receiving $500 million annually for 10 years from plastic producers. And the law requires that funding to be allocated to ensure those most affected by pollution see the greatest benefit from the fund. So the interagency team as I said, includes SGC, the California Department of Justice, and Cali PA, and the Natural Resources Agency. And we're working together to conduct outreach throughout this. We will be working together to conduct outreach throughout the summer to inform the funds development. The last slide. Go back one. There we go. So we've been in San Diego, we've been in Mendocino County and all points in between. And our staff continues to hold visits with our grantees and partners throughout the state to connect, provide support, and gain valuable input and insight. Just a few more examples. The Tribal Housing and Capacity Building Initiative team has been traveling across the state to meet with tribes, raise awareness about the funding opportunities, and gather tribal input. The TCC staff recently traveled to Orleans, California to meet with the Karuk tribe, which is a TCC grantee. They attended the completion celebration for the City of Riverside's Round 3 implementation grant, participated in the farm tour in Coalinga, hosted by partners of TCC grantee Tranquility Resource Conservation District, to get a close-up view of the importance of supporting innovation in agriculture technology, training opportunities, and alternative ag career paths for local community members. They joined the grand opening of grantee Richmond Rising's Hub and attended grantee Urban Collective Project's 5th annual Transportation Justice Expo in San Diego, an opportunity to learn about transportation justice and clean mobility and connect with community organizations who are shaping climate action and mobility in the region. And of course, just yesterday, we held our 5th regional Catalyst convening here at UC Merced, nearly a month after holding the Central Coast convening in Salinas. And these convenings are bringing together nearly 150 regional partners to exchange knowledge, best practices, and successes about community-driven efforts, connect directly with our state representatives and regional assistance providers, and co-create a set of regional and state-focused policy actions to guide our strategic planning and our work in the future. Big shout out to the SGC Connecting Communities team, the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, and partners UC Berkeley Possibility Lab and the California Climate and Energy Collaborative for yesterday's Catalyst convening. Thank you to all, as well as to UC Merced for hosting. And we are very excited to be gathering and be able to share the ideas and actions that are coming out of these convenings in the future. That concludes my presentation of the Executive Director's report. And I will hand this back to you, Chair Sessa.
Thanks, Erin. Just a quick reminder.
Yes. So if members of the public would like to comment on this item, please submit a public comment card at the table. And in order to make virtual public comment, please visit sgc.ca.gov/meetings-events/council and complete the public comment form.
Thank you. We'll have council discussion. I'll just start. Every single time there's an executive report at this meetings, I'm always just amazed at how so comprehensive the work. Can you hear me? How comprehensive the work is within SGC, and I'm always amazed. You know, talk about housing, you're talking about this curve that pedestrian warning beacon, transit, not just housing. So it's just, and then agriculture to climate. I'm always amazed. Of course, it's incredible to hear the results, the numbers, and even every single time I go out, when we go out and actually talk to people who are directly impacted, that's when you really understand the impact statewide numbers that we talk about here. So I can't emphasize enough it's been, and thank you to the team and staff. But most importantly, as well, council members, we're 7 state agencies in public representation here. That's how sort of a holistic approach of making a difference in the lives of people looks like. So I'm just always, you know, I'll stop there and ask my colleagues if any
Thank you, Chair Safan. Thank you, Executive Director Curtis, for your report. I really want to take this opportunity to uplift this one thing that you mentioned in your report around the Plastic Pollution Mitigation Fund, which really is an opportunity and a place for a lot of the members of this council to participate in making sure such a large funding opportunity around plastic pollution could address community needs. I'm very excited to work with my fellow council members, agency CNRA, as well as SGC and also the Department of Justice to continue developing the investment plan for this funding, which, as Aaron mentioned, is $500 million each year over the course of 10 years. And so that's $5 billion total. And I think I see a role here for not just the administering agencies according to the statute to play on this fund, because this fund can touch on so much of all of our council members' work around transportation, around ag, around public health. And I think this is an important opportunity for us to co-develop and identify based on a community-centered approach, hearing from our roundtables what the community needs are, to identify very big picture collaborative efforts to address plastic pollution mitigation in the way that this funding is intended. So thank you for bringing it up and providing that overview.
Councilor Munoz.
Just very quickly, Aaron, I mean, I appreciate the examples, the photographs always, say in 1,000 words. And this from Riverside to the north, right? And so the major metropolitan areas will receive the attention that they deserve, right? Given the density, but to see some of this play out in other parts of the state that may have not received the kind of attention it is now is really, I think, important to underscore. And I know later on in the agenda, we'll talk about some projects that could be the equivalent of alleviating hundreds of thousands of cars from the road. And when I read that in the materials, it's really a shocking number. It's a big number. But you even mentioned it here in your report. And, we should just take a moment to say, when you're talking about tens of thousands of cars for a year off of the road, the things that you're helping to enable, that's not inconsequential. And then again, to distribute that sort of theoretical benefit, right? I mean, not just theoretical, but the way it's being represented, right? A little bit sort of doing some math and algorithms, but that it's distributed across the state, right? Means that there's a sort of climate benefit across the state and not just concentrated in certain areas. And so just to underscore that point of, because you've got so much to cover and you sort of say it and move on to the next important, amazing thing. But I mean, this is like, taking off the road. That's material. That's real. And so like the chair said, it's always remarkable, the depth and the breadth of the things that we're doing, some of which we don't appreciate today as much at scale as the impact that they will have tomorrow.
Thank you, Chair. In the choir of gratitude, well done. I just had a quick question about the factory-built housing pilot program. I feel like this is a place where, the legislature right now is very interested in seeing how they can be helpful in that space. I think it is a resource that can scale in response to some of our housing needs. So I wondered if you could maybe just share a little bit about the contours of that program and how it fits into the broader conversations around.
Sure. I'm going to pass my mic all the way over to the end here.
Thank you, Secretary. So this program, as I've discussed here previously, really is trying to build out the factory-built housing ecosystem at the regional level. So we can address multiple barriers, looking at this problem from multiple perspectives. And where we had initially designed the program focusing solely on the supply, providing funding to factories that would be producing these factory-built housing units, But we didn't have clear demand signals for those factories to function, and they can't access finance if they're unable to aggregate demand and fulfill that. So this is flexible funding, really supporting regional coalitions. So bringing together, local housing finance authorities, local cities, counties, developers, manufacturers all together, so we can use this funding to essentially be the glue that helps these entities that are already working in this space that do their work more effectively.
Yeah, I'll echo how important that is in terms of get ahead of it to get incentives on the ground. I think there's more work that needs to be done. I know there's legislation coming up, but it's also a topic that is top of mind for a number of entities. Last week at Climate Week, Amazon had a big session on factory housing. I know Sean, you participated there. So I think we need to focus on how to make it effective so it can deliver done right, less cost, and more expedited way of delivering housing. That's important work that we do. But we need to focus on the thought incentives. Okay. Yeah.
There, I just might add, Sean, I recall there after Katrina, I recall after Harvey and others, right? There's always been this sort of discussion, how to quickly deploy livable, not like the trailers with formaldehyde that we learned the hard way. Can't sustain a family, but it's interesting to me because we've had any number of examples of unfortunate sort of catastrophes that you would think would, to use a recent term, catalyze interest and capitalization of factory manufactured sort of homes that are, appropriately designed and built. And yet you're right, getting the traction. You wouldn't have thought it'd be this challenging given the scarcity of homes, affordable homes. But that might be something that we have to lean into with a little bit more vigor and think about maybe some demonstration projects to convince, with the eye as to the value proposition, the affordability, and the quality. Because again, I lived in a town that accepted many from Katrina, and I was 3.5 feet in waist deep water at Harvey. And the same topic, like this could be a solution. It seemed not to have materialized in those instances. Let's try to find a solution minus the crisis, minus the catastrophe.
Yeah, I mean, to not to belabor this, but just had a recent proof of concept. We followed a person from Altadena from week after the fire, and then subsequently for months after that. And we, at the last session, we went to LA, check on them. He was the first one in Altadena to complete his house. It was not only factory built housing, it took less than 3 months to actually from foundation to completion. And the quality at all levels is phenomenal, not to mention its environmental benefits as well. So I think the industry is evolving more and more. It requires us to also demand in terms of the qualities and the performance, while also provide incentives or the model of the red tape that ourselves create. So I'll stop there. Factory built housing. Anyone else? I know Vice Chair Cardenas we don't see you, so you can jump in if you're itching to speak.
Not particularly. I just want to congratulate Sean for the work that he's been continuing to do and to pivot with this particular program. There is some growing interest at Sheriff Safa, as you mentioned, down here in the greater Pasadena, LA area, largely because of the fire, but also because we have, as Secretary Moss well knows, a pre-existing need for additional housing, particularly affordable housing that's only been exacerbated. And to know that the SGC under Aaron and Sean's leadership continues to forge ahead in innovative ways is very exciting and gratifying for us down here. Thanks, Chair, for the opportunity.
Well, that, any public comments?
We do have a public comment request here, Laura O'Connor, and it's in the room.
Good morning, Laura Connor, Inspired Collaborations, and also today, and in the current months in the, I was going to say climate, the time that we're in, I'm working with SoCal Grantmakers and Philanthropy California to look and see where philanthropy can partner with the state in the gaps of Prop 4 and other funding. And I just want to acknowledge this brilliant team of leaders sitting here, Aaron and Amar, and this whole row. I was yesterday at the Catalyst convening, and it was incredibly, what I found profound about it, and I'll be brief, is that I've been to a few now and been attending your meetings for a while, and thank you for hosting Chancellor and Chair Safa and all of you. I mean, the mapping out of all the programs, and after there were many presentations by really profoundly successful community leaders that were so moving to see on the ground here out in the community how successful these programs are. But then for everybody in the room, and many leaders and sitting back here were helping too, all the programs mapped out so that folks could go learn about the specific programs that they're interested in, have drilled down knowledge, was so effective. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. I thought that was brilliant and very effective. And it also gave me a lot of information to go back and say, this is what the people in the communities are saying, is the intersection between the people and what is being put out by agencies and what the help can be. So thank you very much.
Bravo.
For that shot of good stuff. The comments.
That's all we have for public comment.
Great. We will now move to item 5, I believe. The item 6.
Nice.
This is the consent calendar, sorry. The consent calendar is for routine and non-controversial business. So I'll now ask Aaron to.
On today's consent calendar are the final guidelines for several SGC grant programs, including the Prop 4 funded rounds of the Transformative Climate Communities and Community Resilience Centers programs, along with 2 programs under the Tribal Housing Capacity Initiative. Staff coordinated a streamlined public engagement process across these programs to reduce duplication and support meaningful participation statewide, and being responsive to what we hear from the community. TCC and CRC will provide large-scale, community-driven planning, project development, and implementation grants that support climate resilience, infrastructure, and economic development in California's most vulnerable communities. Staff conducted a 90-day public comment period and hosted 4 workshops, 5 focus groups with approximately 364 participants, including dedicated sessions for tribes and rural and unincorporated communities, as well, and incorporated feedback from subject matter experts and interagency partners. For the Tribal Housing Capacity Building Initiative, round 2 of the Tribal Housing Capacity Building Program and the new Tribal Housing Pre-Development Fund will deliver technical assistance and capacity building support for tribes advancing affordable housing and integrated climate resilient community development. For these guidelines, staff conducted 10 key informant interviews, held a 90-day public comment period, and convened more than 9 in-person and virtual workshops with over 300 participants, along with formal tribal consultation. An interest response survey received over 40 tribal submissions, with anticipated funding needs totaling $82 to $120 million. If the council approves, all 4 programs anticipate releasing their notice of funding in May. So should the council agree with staff's recommendation, the following motion language is suggested, moving that the council approve the consent calendar. Back to you, Chair Safa.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. Justin, any public comment?
Yes, we do have public comment for item 5. So we have 2 comments online. The first is from Libin Shao with Mosaic Urban Development. If you're able to raise your hand on the Zoom, request being unmuted. If you're calling in by phone, that would be *9. And then *6 to actually unmute. Give us one moment just to see if we can make that connection. So this would be Li Ben Xiao. Are you able to speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Fantastic. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, SGC council members. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the Tribal Housing Capacity Building Program. I'm Li Ben Xiao from Mosaic Urban Development. We have provided technical assistance and direct project management and financial consulting services to over 30 California tribes in order to help them further their self-determined vision for housing, infrastructure, stewardship, and self-governance. I would like to first thank SGC for putting together such a needed and valuable program. Secondly, I'd like to register our support for increasing and doubling the funds for such program from the ASIC funds. I understand that SGC has received our letter with regard to this, as well as letters from many tribes and other parties. The SGC's Tribal Capacity Building Initiative funds are an extremely valuable resource that could provide pivotal and immense assistance to tribes to address their housing and infrastructure needs in alignment with the state's climate and equity goals. There, as you know, has not been a tribal application to ASIC for the last 2 rounds due to barriers that tribes have experienced in developing competitive projects and applications. As you know, tribes have only become eligible to access state resources in recent years. There has been a strong interest in these funds, and reallocating a portion of the underutilized funds, where less than 50 million of the 40 billion awarded across 9 rounds has gone to tribes, would enable tribes to make a strategic investment and close long-term gaps that would position them for long-term success. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. We'll hear next from Gina Gradias. So you should be able to raise your hand within Zoom or by phone, that's *9. And then you'll get a request to unmute. And if you're on the phone, that's *6.
Thank you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Gina Gradias, and I'm speaking on behalf of California Coalition for Rural Housing. We are a statewide nonprofit organization that advances affordable housing and community development in rural, farm worker, and tribal communities. We are supportive and grateful for SGC's continued efforts on the Tribal Housing Pre-Development Fund, a grant program tailored to the unique status, needs, and priorities of tribes. We respectfully request that the council allocate at least 55 million in additional funding to the pre-development fund, which currently stands at 21.5 million. At least 25 tribes have expressed strong interest and intention to apply to this program. This means that a minimum of $75 million is needed to support their pre-development projects. Tribes across California are strongly interested in this program because it directly addresses one of their greatest barriers, access to pre-development resources. At the current funding level, if tribes apply for the maximum award of 3 million, only about 7 tribes could be funded statewide. This leaves many projects stalled in the earliest stages despite their readiness and clear need. Reallocating a portion of the underutilized funds from ASIC, where less than 50 million of the 4 billion awarded has gone to tribes, reallocation towards the pre-development fund would have a far greater impact. It would equip tribes with the capacity to plan, design, and advance projects that can later compete successfully for implementing funding. By expanding the pre-development fund, SGC would meet strong demand while creating a clear pathway for tribes to build housing and infrastructure aligned with California's climate and equity goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, those are the two public comments we had for this item.
Great. So unless council members would like to pull any item from the consent agenda for discussion, suggest we ask for a motion second. If it's better, would like to discuss any of them. Just
I move to adopt.
second.
Second.
So roll call, Director Acefa. Vice Chair Cardenas,
Yes.
Secretary Moss,
Aye.
Chancellor Munoz,
Aye.
Deputy Secretary Jameson, Deputy Secretary Chi,
Yes.
Chief Equity Officer Torres,
Yes.
and Senior Climate Change Coordinator Tran. Deputy Secretary Schwartz.
Yes.
So that's a unanimous pass.
May I, Chair? So, no. Aaron, I just appreciate it. I just wanted to say, the write-up and you talked about during the feedback period, all of the different groups that you heard back from that commented, how you endeavored to incorporate some, but not all of the recommendations. I think that that's appropriate. I think taking feedback, I recall one of the recommendations or something having to do with site control and that there was a slight adjustment. Even the definitions of tribal serving and tribal, I mean, this is the kind of evolution. It's not absolute. You make adjustments based on feedback. You don't get feedback if you don't contact these communities and ask, how can we improve? And so my sense is this is an improvement. I think next year you'll have other comments that will make even this one improved. But that's the kind of reciprocal engagement that makes the competition and ultimately the awarding as reflective of our intentions to be helpful as possible. And so I just, whether it was the TCC or the CRCs, you exercised it, I should say your office, your team, it strikes me with great deliberateness.
Feedback, Chancellor. We have a motion from Chancellor Munoz and
I'm going to make unanimous vote.
Yes.
I wait to get to item 6, which is the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Round 11 Awards. I'm going to ask Amar Sid, Deputy Director of Community Investments and Planning, and Karen Green, Program Manager of both from the California Department of Conservation.
Thank you, Chair. We're happy to be here today with a revised opportunity in how we ran the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Program into rolling funding. So this is the first round for round 11. I have my colleague actually cover the presentation and move through the recommendation for award. Meet you, Karen.
Thank you. Good evening, good afternoon, Chair Acefa and members of the council. I am Karen Ruth, Program Manager for the Land Conservation Programs. Our program includes administration of the SOLC program, and we are housed within the Division of Land Resource Protection and the Department of Conservation. I am joined here by my colleague, Tim Bryant, a member of our SALT team, as well as online. And I do want to say thank you to our Division Director, Shauna Atherton Bauer, and super grateful for the ongoing support and guidance from Amar, Sid, and move along. The round 10, just to sort of back up a little bit, the round 10 guidelines, which are the version that are currently in use, were developed throughout the first half of 2024, released for public comment in summer of 2024, and finalized and adopted by the council in that fall. In 2025, the council approved a technical amendment, which amongst other updates, separated the pre-proposal application and grant agreement materials from the guidelines so as to allow for flexibility in future funding rounds without having to update the guidelines. Starting in 2026, SOLC is operating under a rolling two-phased pre-proposal process with awards made twice per year, as Amara introduced. This new process has made made everything more transparent with more engagement with SOLC staff and overall opened multiple access points for applicants to submit materials, receive feedback, and improve readiness of applications. From the programmatic perspective, as you'll see, this has resulted in fewer projects being at the application stage than we might be accustomed to seeing, but they are fully eligible and readier to close on award. Phase 1 and Phase 2 acquisition pre-proposals are accepted on a rolling basis, and projects that completed the Phase 2 pre-proposal stage in December were eligible to submit applications by the mid-January deadline for 11A. The council is making awards for round 11A today, and awards for round 11B, the second of 2 awards this year, are scheduled for October. Pre-proposals for the planning grants review in mid-January with 11A acquisition application. Just as a quick recounting acquisition, we have 3 eligible project types: acquisition grants, land use planning grants, and capacity grants. Acquisition grants are to permanently protect croplands, rangelands, and lands utilized for the cultivation of traditional resources from conversion to non-agricultural uses through voluntary permanent agricultural conservation easements or fee title purchases on private lands. We awarded our 10th round of grants in October and December of 2025. In this presentation, we will be providing information on the conservation acquisition grant recommendations. The recommendations for planning grants and round 11B will be provided in advance of October SGC meeting, and the capacity grants are currently on pause. In this round 11A, we're using half the full amount of auction proceeds of fiscal year 24-25 and funds disencumbered from projects that have withdrawn or closed under budget between October 2025 and March of this year. We also held back the amount requested in planning pre-proposals. This is auction proceeds of 29 million, rollover funds of about 24 million, holding back 3.8 million for planning awards. For round 11A, we received 27 eligible applications totaling 60 million, 60.1, 39.7 million for conservation easements and 20.4 million for fee title acquisition. Here is the distribution of recommended round 11A grant conservation easements shown in green, fee title acquisitions shown in yellow. We had one easement proposal that was withdrawn shortly before this meeting, and that is shown in orange. These stretch across 16 counties from Siskiyou County down through San Luis Obispo County on the coast and Fresno and Tulare counties in the Central Valley. When completed, the suite of conservation acquisition projects will avoid an estimated 1,311,790 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. Here's a slightly more detailed breakdown of the applications received. Staff received 27 applications for acquisition funding by January 15th of this year. 5 were for fee title projects, 22 for conservation easement acquisitions, 10 were for irrigated agriculture, 10 were for dryland farming, grazing, and 6 were mixed uses of both grazing and irrigated or cultivated agriculture. The 23 recommended projects comprise a little under 90% of the eligible projects. Of the 4 fee title projects, 3 have a tribe as the primary or co-applicant. These are YTT Northern Chumash, the Coyote Valley Band of Poma Indians, and the San Benito Agricultural Land Trust in partnership with the Amamutsan Land Trust. 19 are for conservation easement acquisitions. Of these, all 10 of the irrigated proposals have been awarded. This includes the one of the projects with the Coyote Valley Band of Poma Indians. 7 were dryland farming grazing. 5 were of mixed uses of both grazing and cultivated agriculture. This includes the San Benito Ag Land Trust project. And then 1 is of cultural use with the YTT Northern Chumash tribe. Ultimately, we are recommending using less than the full amount available. Our total is for 45,546,467. This does roll 3,831,000 into the total that will be available for round 11B. Here we can see a list of all the conservation easement projects that have been recommended. 9 of the total 23 recommended projects are actually returning from round 10. 5 of those are easement projects, and then all 4 fee title projects that have been recommended. 2 of these conservation easement projects recommended provide secure land tenure to military veterans. 12 projects secure land tenure to landowners or lessees who self-identified as living in a low-income household or a disadvantaged low-income community. These 14 projects represent 23,323,700 in investments, or approximately 47% of the total funding available. And then moving on to the fee title recommendations. SOLC does limit the amount of funding that can be provided for fee acquisition projects to 25% of the amount of funding available that year. This year, that amount is 12.4 million. With that limitation, we assessed the fee projects based on their scores and ultimately decided on recommending 3 fee projects that involve tribes and 1 mixed-use public access project, as those are listed above. 2 of the 4 fee title acquisition projects recommended are led by a California Native American tribe, which will result in the return of 408 acres of land to California Native American tribes or ownership of land by a tribal nonprofit. The 3rd fee title acquisition of 586 acres would provide a California Native American tribe a cultural easement for access and stewardship. In total, these 3 recommended projects reflect an investment of 9.78 million in projects that result in secure land tenure for tribes and their members. I do just want to take a few minutes to do a couple project spotlights. Our first in Siskiyou County is for a 4,339 acre mixed use property located in Siskiyou. This runs 850 to 1,000 beef cattle, 600 custom grazed organic dairy heifers. They produce approximately 3,600 tons of certified organic hay annually across 900 irrigated acres. The family-owned operation employs 9 ranch hand families, supports numerous local businesses, reinforcing the economic stability of the rural community that surrounds them. They lie directly adjacent to the community of Grenada in an area experiencing increasing subdivision pressure and rural residential expansion, with 56 legal parcels across these 4,000 acres and zoning that allows 40-acre minimum parcel sizes. The property is highly vulnerable to fragmentation and speculative development. Pre-proposal 15 property in Butte County is a 325 acre irrigated property with Comprised primarily of prime soils producing walnuts and almonds, the landowners are a multi-generational family primary operators who all live on the property. This is a portion of 1,000 acres owned by the family, all in close proximity to the Sacramento River. The landowners are deeply committed to the ecological security of these lands and use regenerative practices to protect soil and water quality, and have created wetland habitat projects on site in conjunction with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And then moving on to our fee. The YTT Conservancy has applied for funds to purchase a 345-acre property in San Luis Obispo County. This is a very high value property and dollar-wise along the coast with a total acquisition expense of $18 million. The tribe has worked very hard to find match funding to make the project whole, and SOLC would provide $7 million towards this. With applications submitted to the State Coastal Conservancy, WCB, private funds and donations being raised along the ocean frontage, the property contains an aquaculture facility that the tribe plans to rehabilitate to support ecological restoration, food sovereignty, research, and species rewilding efforts in the face of climate change. And then I'm so sorry. The Farini Ranch is an 869-acre fee title acquisition. I apologize, in Monterey County. It's currently owned by the Trust for Public Lands as a bridge owner and is being leased to the Big Sur Land Trust, who would take on ownership of the property with these SOLC funds. The majority of the property is leased to a local family for cattle grazing. A portion is leased to new and beginning farmers who most recently completed their training with ALBA, the Agriculture and Land-Based Training Association, which wonderfully operates on land protected with a SOLC-funded conservation easement that's held by Ag Land Trust, which was awarded in round 5. This property is located on Route 68, immediately south of the city of Salinas, which speaks highly of its support for infill and compact development, as well as its vulnerability to conversion to non-agricultural use. So to date, SOLC has conserved 176,204 acres of agricultural lands and is working to conserve approximately 90,457 additional acres. If the council approves staff's recommendations for round 11A of 17,381 acres, the total acres in process of being protected would be approximately 107,838 acres. And the total protected or in process would be approximately 42 acres altogether. This map shows the locations of completed and ongoing projects in blue, along with the recommended projects in green and yellow. And then for our next steps, staff would work with round 11A acquisition awardees on entering into grant agreement by August of 2026. Planning applications and acquisition applications for round 11 cycle B will be due in June of 2026. And those recommendations for awards would be provided to the council at the October 2026 meeting. Should the council agree with the staff's recommendation, we would approve the staff recommendation to award $45,546,467 in funds to support the identified 19 agricultural conservation easement acquisitions and 4 fee titles.
Will you turn it back to council?
Thanks. Justin walks us through that comment. We'll have council discussion followed by comments.
So if members of the public would like to comment on this item, please submit a public comment card at the table. To make virtual public comment, please visit sgc.ca.gov/meetings-events/council and complete the public comment form.
Open it up to also discussion.
Yeah, just very quickly, Aaron and Karen, just the final paragraph of, this is what I was referring to vaguely earlier, with the 17,000 plus acres. It's 304,461 gasoline powered passenger vehicles.
It's the wrong date.
Might have someone unmuted accidentally.
Yeah, and so that's right. That's what it would, I mean, it would have the equivalent of, that's over a quarter of a million cars in 1 year. I mean, that's what I meant. That's not inconsequential, right? And so I just, when you think about like, that's a lot, that you sit in traffic, that you look around, that's a lot. And so yeah, for some reason that helped illustrate it even more so in my very limited imagination. So I just wanted to underscore just the actual material impact along with all the others, right? But I just wanted to emphasize that. So.
Deputy Secretary Johnson.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much, Karin and Amara. I really appreciate your presentation and all the work that went into making these recommendations today. Having been part of that team at one time, I know exactly how thorough your process is and how carefully vetted each of these projects is. And you know that they all had to reach a very high bar. So I'm hoping that I get the prerogative of making the motion when the time comes. One thing I wanted to raise though with the council is these nature-based solutions targets that were set by the state in 2024. These are targets that are about nature-based solutions, land management, including the conservation of lands across all landscape types. But they do have targets that are set specifically for agricultural lands, which includes croplands and grasslands and shrublands in some cases. So those targets for agricultural cropland conservation are 12,000 acres per year for crop annuals and perennials. So that's, you know, trees, vegetables, all the things that California is really known for in producing specialty crops. That's really significant because you know, that's a very ambitious target, and those targets were set in conjunction with the California Air Resources Board, the California Natural Resources Agency, and CDFA, and they look at what are the actions we need to take on our landscapes in order to meet our 2045 carbon neutrality goals. And so related to that, I want to note that we continue to lose significant agricultural land every single year to just various other land uses. And that usually amounts to between 40,000 and 50,000 acres per year on average. So even though we're protecting really a lot through this program and other programs each year, we're still not keeping up with the rate of loss. And as we see other lands go out of production, as we have the fallow lands due to the Sustainable Ag Lands, Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, it just makes it that much more important that we're thinking really hard about these projects and where we're protecting. So the last thing I want to say is that SALC is currently the only program in the state that is currently funded that offers protection for land conservation. So those, again, those like vegetables and trees and things that we really prize here. There are other sources of funding for rangeland conservation through, for instance, the Wildlife Conservation Board, the different conservancies. And so I would encourage the council and SGC to consider the unique ability of this program for protecting croplands and consider prioritizing that in future rounds. Because again, we've got these collective state targets. I think we all have a responsibility to try to meet them, and there's no other program that can do it in the case of lands. So I will stop there and just want to say, you know, thank you. And again, when it's time to make the motion, I'm ready.
Anyone? So Thank you very much.
Sure. Just want to lift up my appreciation for how much work goes into evaluating these projects. Yeah, a lot. And so I'm just, and also the fact that so many of our communities are living on this land, we are creating ways to conserve the land. It just feels like a true partnership. So well done to you all and to the awardees. I'm curious about the 3 million going back to the next round of funding. Was that just because want to make sure there are continued resources moving forward? Did we not want to include another project? So just curious about that carryover. And maybe to my colleague's point, it does feel like you all do a tremendous amount of outreach and partnership with potential applicants for this program, and that there is geographic range that you select. But is there any sort of prioritization or strategy that goes into where you want to see conservation happening? Or is it really just sort of incoming from the applications that you sort of prioritize against the criteria of the program?
To your first about the 3 million rolling over to 11B, there were 3 projects that we chose to not award. And they, between the 3 of them, exceeded 3 million. A couple of them we just felt weren't ready. They, at least, at least one might return in 11B if it can make some improvements. And then another might return in a future round. But that was, those were. I'm happy to go into greater detail at another time if you'd like. And then in terms of trying to increase, or if we have any targeted outreach, we don't have any targeted outreach per se. Our capacity grant program has done a lot to pull in organizations and other entities that are working in the Central Valley and in parts of the state that we haven't seen a lot of incoming applications from. Some of that success we saw in round 10, where there was an historic number of applications. And some of those are still kind of in the process. And I will say that for 11B, we've got an even greater number of pre-proposals that have been submitted. So there may be even more diversity that you will see coming on, but we are definitely open to trying to figure out how to engage more with groups that are doing conservation work on croplands specifically, to try and meet that acreage target. But we haven't done, other than we don't do any targeted outreach as of just, thanks.
So this round also was continuing on from previous guidelines. We did some technical amendments. Before that round 10 happened, there was a pause in the program that did a lot of that outreach and engagement to come up with the guidelines that we have now. So there have been priorities in place, and that outreach was taken into consideration. So we did see historical numbers in the last round. We'll see them in this kind of split round, as well as historical tribal applicants that came in, since that's what we heard from the previous round. So I do think there's opportunities as we move forward to build in more technical support. There's generally been some consideration where the SALT team has provided really great technical opportunities to the community to bring folks in, but there's always room for improvement in bringing in that engagement factor. In the past, there are areas where the team have not have applicants in, and so those are areas that we can also look in. I think we can take in consideration for how we prioritize funds, and again, figuring out if we do move into round 10, is that a way where we put priority criteria in there that's different from right now? And maybe that's done through a technical amendment, or we do a little bit of a pause and rethink again on how to incorporate more opportunities that's or that we're hearing from community and applicants.
That's super helpful. I think it's important when you do the outreach, you get unprecedented engagement. And so given that the other program is on pause, I just wouldn't want you all to lose momentum in continuing to build that into your practice, because clearly there's demand. And I really appreciate what you all are thinking about in the future rounds. Thank you.
I'll echo the same relevance to what it takes to review these and select. Not only, can you hear me? I will echo how difficult it is to go through this process, especially how thorough you go through this review process. 60 million asked, 9 million. Pretty sure almost all of our worthy funding. But Karen, you mentioned, I forgot the numbers, but the percentage is far from the ones that were not successful in round 10. Can you speak to what you actually do to follow up with applicants who are not successful in?
Yeah, for the applicants that were not successful in round 10, there was we were limited by the amount of funding that was simply available. And so there was simply a line we had to draw at some point. Many of those that fell below that line, score-wise, were perfectly eligible and competitive and compelling applications. And so when we do send out letters of notification to all applicants, we made available that they can contact us for a debriefing, and we can work with them on understanding what did or didn't happen with their application. And so for some, that helps them, know what information to focus on for a next round. And for some, it was simply a matter of bringing their project back again. There's an element of who you're in the pool with, for in terms of being competitive and getting an award. So for those 9 that were awarded in this round that were to return from round 10, those were really great, compelling projects. And they, happened to shine within the pool. They were also readier, I think, having gone through the application process last round. So they scored well that way as well.
And maybe to also add some of the benefit of having the program guidelines developed in round 10, where we did very minimal changes between rounds. We did the round 10 awards in October and December, and then came back out. So we're here in April for awards again. And so that allowed those projects that were very viable projects to really reflug those projects back in. So we're not losing that kind of capacity that applicants already created to come in. And so staff were able to debrief, and we're in that space today, seeing those projects come back up and being recommended for.
Thanks, I guess. In addition to Secretary Boss's comments about the importance of outreach, I think that is sort of an important component of that, to work with the not successful so that they successful sign a lot. So appreciate that one. What else here? We'll go to public comments.
So we'll begin with public comments in person, starting with the chair for YTT Northern Shumash, Mona Tucker.
Good afternoon, Strategic Growth Council, Executive Director Curtis and staff. My name is Mona Olivas Tucker, and I serve as the tribal chair for Yaktichu Tichu Yaktahini, Northern Chumash Tribe of San Luis Obispo County. The ancestries of our members are directly linked to this region. We're all well documented. And it has been my home for my entire 75 years. Thank you for your time, your care, and the thoughtful attention you have given our application. I would like to recognize your staff, the Department of Conservation, and the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Program. They have examined the merits of our application carefully, including meeting with us and visiting the site. Their diligent and stringent work resulted in a recommendation to approve funding for us, and we are grateful for their support. Beyond the application, I want to speak more to you about what your decision means to us. Many years ago, our people were taken from our land, yet the need to return never leaves us. This isn't something we learn, it is something we are born with, something we carry. With that ancestral connection comes love, deep respect, and an absolute responsibility to care for the land, to protect it, and to live in relationship with it. The land is our relative, bound to us as we are bound to it. Despite over 250 years of separation, our relationship with this place has remained unbroken within us. It calls to us, and for generations, we have not been able to answer that call. And that is why this moment matters so deeply. None of us can rewrite history, but you have the ability here and now to make this moment historic for our tribe and to help shape the course of our future for countless generations. That is why today, on behalf of our tribe, I ask that you confirm us as the recipient of this grant. Ki istu mistu sanam. We have faith in you. Thank you.
Us.
Thank you. Our next public comment in person, we have two more. And the first is Michael Pinachpakti with Inspired Collaboration. Excuse me, Project Manager for San Benito Agricultural Land Trust.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Panichko, Project Manager with the San Benito Agricultural Land Trust, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak with the council today. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited to share about one of our projects that got recommended for funding in the 11A round, and it's a conservation easement project that we're working on, which is in San Benito County, and it consists of 3 contiguous vertical parcels which we plan to put a conservation easement on each of them. So 3 conservation easements for 3 parcels. We're really excited about this project because of the fact that we're able to keep working land as working land. So the top 2 parcels for this project have a grazing operation on them, but also if the landowner chose to, they would also have the option of, or they could have the ability to have an individual farming operation on each of those parcels, and it would be sustainable. The southern parcel is a row crop operation, and it produces baby spinach and baby lettuce. So because agriculture and cattle are 2 important economic drivers in San Benito County, of course, we're really excited to have the opportunity to conserve this property. And that brings us to the landowners that we work with. We're so grateful for landowners that truly believe in what we believe in, and in the way that they're also want to keep working land as working land, and they're so collaborative and just so easy to work with. So very thankful for our landowners. And I also wanted to say thank you for SALT and their staff and how they, like, whenever we had a problem, we had Cassidy McSturdy, Lauren Fox, Sarah Nolan. You guys were so easy to work with and just like so, like it really felt like we were working as part of a team, but also it was obvious that you guys really care about what we're all trying to do here, and that's just amazing for us. So to wrap it up, we encourage the council to vote in support of funding this project. It's a good one. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear next from Lynn Overtree.
Hard act to follow. I'm Lynn Overtree. I'm the executive director for the San Benito Agricultural Land Trust, and it's an honor to speak to you. We are grateful to SALC for recommending 2 of our projects, both of which were rejected last session, and we're glad to bring them back. So this is a great opportunity. And I'm going to talk about the fee title. One is a 586 acre working ranch, cattle ranch, and it's also in a critical wildlife linkage between the Santa Cruz Mountains and the Gavilan Range. It's in the area where there's a pending Caltrans San Benito Wildlife crossing over Highway 101. And as you heard earlier, it's an opportunity for us to work with our partners at the Amamutsan Land Trust to create another cultural easement that will be modeled after the one that we have on one of the other properties that was sold from you. The landowners who are Donner Party survivors, and they've had the property for over a century, the original landowners. They came to us and asked us if we would buy the property before they put it on the market. And that's a testimony to the growth of our organization, much of which is due to the capacity grant that SALC provided us. We saw and see what we hired, which is fantastic, super exciting. And so thank you very much. And we have our partners, the Wildlife Conservation Network and Peninsula Open Space Trust contributed 1.5 million to this project. The Conservation Fund had the ability to close that property quickly and using a revolving fund. And now we are coming to try to get that funding to be able to buy it and permanently protect it. So in summary, I encourage you to support this project that protects working lands, a vital wildlife linkage, regional partnerships with our indigenous groups and other partners, and it helps grow conservation in San Benito County. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll now move to public comment online. I see 5 active comments, so they submitted requests and we see them online. Starting with Jason Landers. If you could raise your hand to be unmuted. So there's a button in the participants section of the Zoom, or if you're calling in by phone, that's *9, and then *6 to unmute or accept the window on your screen.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Fantastic. So good afternoon, council members. My name is Jason Landers, and I am
a little louder, Jason, please.
You got it. My name is Jason Landers, and I am the conservation manager at the Bear Yuba Land Trust, which is located in Grass Valley. I'm here today to express BYLT's excitement and gratitude. In 2024, we received SALC capacity funding for our Central Sierra Agricultural and Cultural Protection Program. This capacity funding has been instrumental in helping us develop conservation acquisition projects, as well as deepen our partnership with the Nevada City Rancheria Nisinan tribe. One of the projects we use capacity funding to advance is the Sweet Ranch Conservation Easement, a project that has been recommended for funding by DOC staff. This project, located in Nevada County, is 284 acres and will protect important agricultural resources, critical blue oak woodlands, and combat climate change. The ranch is one of the largest remaining historic ranches in Nevada County and is owned and operated by the 6th generation of family members. We're very excited about this project, and the SALC grant programs are vital to our collective conservation work. The program has helped landowners and our community sustain their agricultural operation and encourage more landowners to work with us, as well as the broader land trust community. The program has also made it possible for land trusts to protect important agricultural lands, local food security, and wildlife habitat. And the program is helping us reach our 30 by 30 goals. Our work would not be possible without your leadership and commitment to conservation. Thank you for listening to land trusts, tribes, and other conservation organizations, and most especially, thank you for investing in our communities. I also want to express our gratitude to DOC staff members, Sarah, Lauren, Matt, and Karin, for their recommendation, as well as guidance and feedback in developing this project. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. We'll hear next from Kyle Walsh. You can raise your hand in the Zoom platform or *9 if you're calling in by phone, and then accept the request to unmute. And if you're on the phone, press *6, please.
Hi, this is Kyle Walsh with the Land Conservancy of San Luis Obispo County. I'd like to say thank you to the council today. Thank you to the staff who supported this program, and in particular for two projects in our county. One submitted by the Land Conservancy ourselves for the Cottontail Creek Ranch Conservation Easement Project. That project specifically will build on an adjacent 4,500 acre contiguous protected series of lands in conservation easement along and south of Highway 46 West. And we're thrilled to see the Alexander Ranch protected in partnership with YTT, and to see those lands permanently protected, or at least making one critical step toward that process today. Two remarkable additions to protected agricultural lands in this key part of our county, and a real testament to the SALC program, having funded many of those neighboring conservation easements, both in the same watershed as those two projects, as well as immediately nearby in this region of the county, where agriculture is woven into every aspect of these lands and what makes them important to protect. So thank you very much to the council and to the staff for your support of this program, consideration of these projects today.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Christina Souza. Raise your hand through the Zoom platform or press *9, and then accept to unmute or press *6.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear us now?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, great. We hear you.
My name is Christina Souza. I'm a conservation projects manager representing Shasta Land Trust, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. On behalf of our staff, board of directors, and local community, we want to thank the Department of Conservation, our grant manager, Sarah Nolan, and the Strategic Growth Council for recommending and awarding our Round 11A SALC acquisition grant. The SALC program is unsurpassed in our region of far northern California in helping us support low-income communities, increase land conservation, sustain local agriculture and food security, and support local and state economic growth. Through multiple SALC acquisition and capacity grants awarded to Shasta Land Trust in the past, our staff and efficiency in conserving more lands has continued to grow exponentially. We also support the rolling SALC application process, which has provided greater ability to receive grant manager feedback and reduce staff time and burden during the initial pre-proposal process. Our Round 11A funding will permanently protect over 1,657 acres of winter grazing habitat through acquisition of an important conservation easement in perpetuity, and more neighbors are already reaching out with interest. This project illustrates the importance and multiple benefits provided by this program. It supports beginning farmers, protects scenic views, allows for permanent rotational grazing options during winter, maintains jobs within a low-income community, and it sets aside an option for housing on site to allow for successional planning and agricultural sustainability. This site also provides strategic conservation and wildlife connectivity, protects important oak woodlands and vernal pools, and preserves important fish habitat and water quality in direct connectivity to the Sacramento River. Because of the success we've had with our SALC-funded projects in our region, new landowners and partners continue to reach out to us, and we're able to provide workshops with testimonies about local success. Again, we thank you and hope this funding continues, as it has allowed us to form trusting and meaningful relationships with landowners, our community stakeholders, and all of those propel us and the rate at which we can serve land.
Thank you. We'll hear next from Cindy Sage. You can raise your hand through the Zoom platform or press *9 by phone, and then accept the request to unmute on your screen or press *6. Cindy, are you able to hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. We can hear you now too.
Thank you. My name is Cindy Sage. I have submitted a letter in writing today to you, which I believe, will cover the points that I wanted to make in more detail. But I wanted for you to know that I'm very pleased that you have approved funding, or you will be shortly, for the Sweet Ranch. It is a parcel that I'm familiar with, both as a professional environmental and agricultural consultant who's worked on conservation easements over the decades throughout the state, but also as a neighbor. I am a direct property owner adjacent to the Sweet property. I've had the opportunity to walk it over the years. I've observed it has many attributes that are really fundamental to conservation of both resources and good rangeland. But in particular, I think the most important point to be made is that this is another pearl on a string of beautiful properties that are large, that have great historic ranching value, great family legacies. And to add another along with the Garden Bar and the Sanford properties and across the Bear River to placer conservation easements is going to make it far more likely that ranching families won't be squeezed out with encroaching urbanization. The Sweet property in particular is important. It is zoned for 10 acres now, although it's a large, almost 300-acre parcel, but it sits next to 10-acre subdivision. All the utilities are there, and there's a very high risk of conversion for other than agricultural development. So if you preserve this, you add to a growing bounty of properties and easements that are valuable to retain the entire agricultural rangeland culture here. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear next from Cynthia Perrine. So raise your hand through the Zoom platform under the participants menu or press *9, and then please accept the request to unmute on your screen or press *6. Cynthia, do you hear us? We were maybe sending you a request to unmute. So if you're calling in by phone, do we know if it's by phone or by computer?
Don't, but they're unmuted. They can again speak.
Oh, you are unmuted. So try *6 if you're calling in by phone. Just give this one more moment and we might need to move to our next commenter. Okay, I think we'll have to go back in a moment. So we'll try with Rachel Saunders, please. And if you can raise your hand through the Zoom platform or press *9 by phone, and then accept the request to unmute on your screen or press *6.
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes. Is this Rachel?
It is Rachel.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. My name is Rachel Saunders. I'm the Vice President of Conservation at the Big Sur Land Trust. On behalf of our organization, I wanted to express our gratitude to the agency and to Lauren and other staff at the SALT program for your support during this process of submitting a grant application for our project at Farini Ranch, which you highlighted in the presentation. Thank you very much. We really appreciate the Strategic Growth Council's support of this project. This is a 869-acre property along the very scenic Highway 68 corridor between the city of Monterey and the city of Salinas in Monterey County. The land has supported a longtime grazing family who's grazed the property for since the late 1800s. There also is an active organic row crop farming activity on the land with beginning farmers. The property is also an incredibly important habitat linkage in a larger wildlife corridor. And as was mentioned, the state of California Department of Fish and Wildlife has identified the highway going there through that area as one of the top 5 barriers against wildlife movement in California. And there's an important underpass that is adjacent to the property that we are looking to conserve. We also have been engaging local tribes. Over a dozen tribes and tribal groups have engaged in our process to help develop a vision for the property over the long term and continue to conserve its grazing, agricultural, and natural and cultural values. This land was part of a intertribal trading pathway that was appropriated as the De Anza Trail and has very significant cultural resources and has been considered by a number of tribes as part of their ancestral lands. And we're looking forward to continuing to work with our tribal partners. So thank you very much. We really appreciate the work of the council and the program staff. And we look forward to continuing our work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to circle back with Cynthia Perrine. I believe they may have tried a different way to connect. So Cynthia, if you can hear us, please raise your hand through the Zoom platform under the participants menu or press *9 by phone. Raise your hand that way. And then accept the request to unmute that should pop up on your screen or press *6.
Did it work?
Yes.
Oh,
welcome.
excellent. All right. Great. So I'm Cynthia Perrine with Northern California Regional Land Trust, and I'm talking today about my appreciation for the council's support and partnership in funding and guiding these transformative projects. They've been boiled down to a number of metrics, which are always really fun. For our organization, we're particularly excited because we've crested that sustainability of our stewardship fund with the addition of the Hamilton Ranch back in 2023, which was supported by a SALC grant. And since adding the Abbey and Hamilton Ranch to our portfolio and getting a capacity grant, which has helped us do extensive outreach to really rural parts of the community, ranchers and farmers who don't like to come to urban areas, we've actually added an additional 35,000 acres to our prospects list. It's a little bit daunting. But I think the most important metric I'd like to acknowledge is that from building strong relationships. And I'd like to show appreciation to the grant managers, Tim, Artemis, Matt, Lauren, Karin, and others. We're so grateful for extensive coordination with 2 of our recent projects. Kitty Hawk was included in the executive director's report. It's a really special property. It also took 3 years. And a project we just recorded yesterday called Judici Ranch, again, another 3-year project. But it's so important because these are serving as models for the community in these rural areas. It's 1,170 acres of regenerative rangelands. And that's exactly what's going on with our prospect that you're considering today. The Angel Slough Anderson Ranch property in Butte County is right alongside the Sacramento River. And the way they found out about us was because of our outreach. And the neighbors are already asking them about what is going on over there because they're doing a lot of restoration and planting. So through programs like 1031 Exchange in combination with SALC, I see a very bright future and look forward to our continued partnerships. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I believe that brings us to the end of our public comment period here. Oh, we just received the last one. Just before, I'll give the tie to the runner here. So Candace Reynolds, you can go ahead and raise your hand through the Zoom platform and unmute. I believe you're connected by a computer.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay. Awesome. Yay, just in time. Thank you. Just thank you for this opportunity. It's hard to even describe in words, like what it makes me emotional just talking about it. I'm speaking on behalf of the Coyote Valley Band of Pomo Indians, and this opportunity, I mean, it's been a long road. We originally submitted for the round 11 application, and we were close, but Coyote Valley was not did not get the award, and we really wanted to just get as much feedback as possible to see what we could do better, and what was missing and where it could improve. And we got some amazing feedback. We have met with some amazing people, Cara and Rue and the team with the SELC program, and they had come out. I had the pleasure of meeting them for a site visit, and we also we learned, and what was a great opportunity was for the tribe to be able to go out to this property, which it's a 63-acre property of active vineyards right along the Russian River in Mendocino County. And this property happens to be just adjacent to the Coyote Valley's reservation, and what it represents for just not only increasing their land holdings, but just what it means for the opportunities, and seeing and talking about what all the possibilities were for the tribe outside of the organization has been extremely meaningful. So I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. There's so much more to say, but I just wanted to make sure to get that out there, and I'm so happy to be here today, and just to be able to even say thank you. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. I will make one last call for public comment in case there's someone who submitted a comment, but we just don't see their name popping up to confirm that they're online. So is Mark connected? If so, Mark Del Piero, please raise your hand through the Zoom platform or press *9 by phone. Just want to give that person an opportunity because they did submit a comment card.
Good afternoon.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I'm Mark Del Piero. I'm the CEO and Managing Director for the Ag Land Trust. We wanted to, first of all, thank the staff and our grant managers for all of the assistance that they've provided to us. The Ag Land Trust will be the recipient of grants should your council follow the advice of your staff, which I think is remarkably excellent. And we will be acquiring conservation easements on over 700 acres of prime farmland in the Salinas Valley. And when we characterize farmland as prime in the Salinas Valley, these soils are all of the highest classification that are promulgated by the California Department of Conservation. These 3 farms that will be subject to permanent protection and preservation currently produce 3 vegetable crops a year. They have exceptionally good groundwater supplies and have been under cultivation now for the better part of 70 years. The Ag Land Trust is very appreciative of the council's consideration of the recommendations today, and we want to indicate that the program that does provide funding for the preservation of prime farmlands that are subject to cultivation is singularly perhaps the greatest source of both funds and encouragement from your staff in pursuit of the goals that have been established by the state of California and that your council is responsible for implementing. Again, thank you very much on behalf of the Ag Land Trust, and particular thanks to the staff from the Department of Conservation. They work really, really hard. And if the council members don't realize that, you are unbelievably well benefited by the people who work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll also check to see if Amy Thompson is online but not visible to us. Amy Thompson, if you're able to comment, please raise your hand through the Zoom platform under the participants menu or press *9 by phone. So far, we're not seeing. Okay, that may genuinely be someone who's not connected to the meeting. So with that, Chair, I believe we have reached the end of our public comment period on this item.
Thanks, Justin, and thank you for the public comments, very helpful. Council members, this is your chance to beat Deputy Secretary Jemison to the motion, or you can be nice, let her make the motion and with that, can I have a motion in a second?
Mr. Chair, it seems like they're being nice to me. So I enthusiastically move that the council approve the recommended awards for round 11, cycle A of the Sustainable Natural Lands Conservation Program.
Have a motion. Secretary Jemison. Second.
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Chin. Second. Second.
All right, so roll call vote. Director Acefa.
Enthusiastically, yes.
Vice Chair Cardenas.
Yes.
Secretary Moss. Chancellor Munoz. Deputy Secretary Jameson. Yes. Deputy Secretary Chief.
Yes.
Chief Equity Officer Torres. Senior Climate Change Coordinator Tran. And Deputy Secretary Schwartz.
Yes.
All right, then the motion unanimously passes. And many congratulations.
With that, we move into the next item, which is public comments for matters that are not on the agenda. That questions posed by the public during this item cannot be substantively addressed or discussed at this meeting. Any required follow-up can be directed to SGC Executive Director and Curtis for follow-up answers and connections to relevant stuff. With that, last time comments.
I am not seeing any public comments through a request form. I believe that's it.
Short and sweet, so it brings us to the governance. Thank you again, Chancellor Munoz, seeing us at this beautiful location. To Justin for the complex public comment process, and thank you SGC conservation staff, but also our support staff. And Kayla, Mohima, Fabian, thank you all for all the support.
Chairman, before you officially adjourn, may I just a moment of
Absolutely.
Just very quickly, I want to thank all of you for being here at your public university in the Valley, the only R1 research university in the Valley, many great schools in the Valley. I want to thank the staff that helped put this together, both at the agency, but also the university staff, the people that come in and bring water and keep the room full and keep the buildings operating, and those folks who never receive the kind of credit and attention that they deserve. So we're going to thank you to them. And then just to say, you probably are unaware of this, but this is UC Merced. It was built with climate and sustainability even before the first shovel moved to Earth, and is very cognizant of the populations that lived here before. It is the only carbon neutral research university in America. And so to pass what we just passed here, I don't know that the people that built this university 20 years ago, September 5th, could have imagined that it would have been a site for something as important as what just transpired. So I want to thank them for having the vision to bring this institution here to be as a host site for what just transpired and many other important things that transpire in the future. Thank you. You honor us by being here and being present.
Following statements, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Y'all should be.